Hey, yo, it's Blue, baby. You're now watching Blue Dope. Today I have Brandon Frame, a.k.a. the Black Man Can. You might have scrolled on his Instagram and didn't even know who the man behind it was, but I got him here today. What's up, Brandon?
It was good, man. I just appreciate the opportunity to be here, and you're dope. You're Blue.
That's it.
So let's get into it.
But you know what's really funny? I think for a long time, I was already aware of the brand, the Black Man Can. And I just thought it was just an Instagram page, right, that highlighted different Black men for different reasons. I had no idea for a long time that it was much deeper than that, right? It's a whole organization. You're doing a lot of positive things out here around the entire country, right? But just to take it to the beginning, you're from Connecticut?
I'm from Connecticut, CT 860, stand up. You know, I gotta.
Oh, the 860?
Yeah. You know, because Connecticut's one of those places, like when I was in college, we're like, oh, there's Black people in Connecticut. Like, actually, Connecticut has, if it hasn't changed, at one point, Connecticut had the third largest population of Caribbean people outside of New York and Florida.
Wow.
So, like, if I take you to where I grew up, I call it Little Kingston. You know what I'm saying? If we go to the South End, that's like Little San Juan, Little Santo Domingo, like it's Dominican, Puerto Rican. So you would come and you'd be like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? It'd be like, it's like that.
So is your family from the Caribbean? Or?
No. So so interestingly enough, a little bit growing up, sometimes I felt like a minority in the aspect of not being from the Caribbean, where most of my peers are from some island.
Yes.
And having that cultural heritage, and you know, for me is regular Black, if you will, right? Okay. African American.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's so much that comes with that, right? Yep. But also, you know, being like, wow, like, you know, maybe having your own flag of a country, there's cultural heritage that comes in those different places, and seeing people celebrate that was really dope. So
I mean, I'm Trini and I grew up in Brooklyn, so it's just like that's kind of just normal out in Brooklyn, right?
Yeah.
But what's funny is I had no family members in Connecticut, so I never used to take that trip. Yeah. But I think, you know, as I got older, I heard a little bit more about New Haven and Bridgeport and the different parts.
Yeah.
So I mean, so you had that blend. I mean, what was it? Was it like a struggle life out there? Like what was...
I mean, it's like almost anywhere else, right? In terms of, I mean, you have an affluent Black community just like in any state, but you also have, Connecticut's a very wealthy state.
Yes.
And so you have impoverished areas. And so, you know, growing up that way, just as anywhere, it teaches you resilience, teaches you how to move, you know.
Did you ever get mixy in anything? Or?
I mean, I don't think I've ever said that on camera. So I've done a few things that, you know, so I guess I give two stories, right? Because I probably never talked about this publicly. So I had this one instance. These are two that I could share. One was, this was people seeing me and knowing that like I'm gonna do good things in life, right? But where I'm like in my teenage years, and he's like, we about to go do something, but so you gotta get out the car. You know, you can't come, right? So I appreciate that instance, because
they knew.
What they went and did was, you know, they didn't get caught. But what if they did
and you were there,
and they knew like, hey, you shouldn't be riding with us this time, right? Yeah. And then this other time, I've been a driver, you know, for a few runs, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, but
good kid, Mad City.
Yeah. So there's like a few things I've done, like, like when you just look back on it, like,
that was wild.
You know, it was wild. It's wild. Like you just like, yeah, I did that. You know, like it's like a little bit of street cred, right? But it's not much. It's not much. But it's just like, oh yeah, you know, people are earning things, right? And so you're like, oh, that's cool. And then you just realize though, like, it's not it.
It's not it. There's something more that's out there, etc.
Yeah.
So I mean, was that like high school years, like, you know, with
high school years, yeah. Just, you know, people are into things and you just like, oh, like I'm cool, let's do it, you know, like, and then it's like, yeah, no.
I mean, I always felt for me that college was an escape, right? So once, you know, you went to college, granted, every summer you're back home and the same people that you could get into those mixy situations with, they're home with you every summer, right?
Yeah, so I would say that that wasn't necessarily the case. Like, this was just one group of, I think I was able to maneuver through different groups of people. Nice. So like, I was an honor student and whatnot. So I had one group, I had another group. You know what I mean? It's just different groups of people. But I was also on a basketball team.
Oh, wow.
Right. And then so you just, when you different, and those same people might not hang out, but you can hang out in all the different groups. Yeah, you know, I got, a jumper, you know what I'm saying? Anybody that know, they'd be like, oh, Frank, you can shoot, don't leave him open. You know? Yeah, so just being able to maneuver different groups. I definitely that was part of my like growing up.
So now, I mean, you had, I guess, different options at that point. So college, you picked.
I was always gonna go. Like even though growing up in a like my mom, we grew up, you know, just surviving, right? That is how we grew up. I'm the oldest of 5, right? So my mom did everything that she needed to do to make sure we had. I would say I didn't know that maybe we didn't have as much as others until you went to people who had a lot. You know, but what I learned through that is that my mom sacrificed a lot. Like there's a lot I just think about what I see women have now and the things they want to do and everything, and like that's not new, right? But like my mom had me at 20 and then I had my siblings, and so she didn't get a chance to do that, or like she would go without doing her nails and her feet. Like that's something women do every week. Right, but
the kids got to eat.
But right. So I noticed that as I got older, that like everything that she sacrificed for all of us to have. So I'm grateful for that. But college was something we always talked about. She pushed it. You know, that's what you're gonna do. And then I got siblings. They're gonna look up to you. You gotta go to college and stuff, which led me to Morehouse.
Wow.
Ultimately, there's a story there how I got there, but I was always like going to college. It started for me. College was around being in Connecticut, UConn Huskies. It was all Big East. So before I got introduced to HBCUs, it was all about UConn, Syracuse.
That's true.
Georgetown, like that. That was because that was the Big East. Ray Allen, Allen Iverson. You know what I mean? That was that's you know what I mean. That was the best conference. There was no ACC was not yet what it was, what it is now, or the SEC for basketball. It was all about the Big East. That's like if you hooped, you know what I mean? And in this area, you played for a Big East school, you know what I mean?
So before that, was Pops around or not really?
So I met my dad when I was 18.
Wow.
So that's just, and now we have a great relationship. It's amazing. We're season ticket holders to the Dallas Cowboys together, and I was in his wedding, and so we're, and just my journey. That's just what my journey is, right? Like,
so that's your boy now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy.
We're real cool, So I appreciate having that relationship, and I was able to just connect and build.
I mean, I'm gonna just speak to it right there too. Like I was brought up by a single mother. I'm the youngest of 5, so on the flip side, I was the youngest. What I could say is that I often have this conversation, even with, I'll put it out there, some of my nephews, where my brother might have not been around for them. It comes to a point where you have to forgive. So how do you do that even at 18, like finishing high school, making this college choice, and he comes back all of a sudden?
Well, it wasn't even, I guess if there's the story there is, I was on the basketball team, as I mentioned. I'm a senior at this point. And Coach Smith, who's a legend in Connecticut, he was like, people always, I think about some of the work that I do, and people thought of me as like a mentor, like a role model before I really thought about myself as a role model. He's like, I want you to, kind of mentor some of the freshmen, take them under your wing. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like I could do that. And so his name was Kevin Moses, and I hung out with him, and just in school would just say, how's things going, how's school, everything like that. And one day I was coming into the gym with my mom, and he was in there, and his dad was in there. And so when my mom walks in, he's like, Angela, and then she's like, Kevin, and they went to college together. And I consider myself, like when I tell that story, I'm like a college love baby. My mom was like a sophomore, my dad was a junior. They do what they do. Yeah, Brandon, you know what I mean? And so I think when he saw, he was like, wait, this is Glenn's son? Like, because they were all in school together. Like, she had me when she was in school. So she was like, oh, I remember you, like when you came out, you brought me to campus. Out? She my mom recently got a degree like 3 or 4 years ago.
Nice.
But yeah, so from there, like he's like, I talked to your dad like last week.
Like, what's good? Like,
but he didn't know.
Okay.
Because I don't have the same last name. I
Okay.
have my mom's last name.
Wow.
And so he was like, "Wait, this is
Wow.
he just made all the
He started
literally made all the
connecting
connected the dots." And he was like, "Bet." And then like I said, I've been working with his son and just being there. And then he made a phone call and then phone numbers exchanged. And then I remember he showed up to practice one time on a piece of paper, you know, because it's 2004, you know, so with a piece of paper. Like, here's your dad's number, you give him a call, and you know, and then we just, I met him shortly after that, and then been rocking ever since.
That's crazy. I'm glad something positive came from that, and it wasn't like he's just like, "Yo, why'd you call me?" Like, you know.
Yeah, no. I think you know, I think he wanted a relationship with me. You know, I'm at this point, you know, 17 years old when that all transpired in terms of just him connecting me. So I think, you know, it was just that's just how it is.
Did he ever explain why he didn't try to connect? Okay.
I never asked. I think at that point in my life, I was.
Who cares?
Yeah, I'm good. Like, you know, I'm fortunate to have had mentors and people who poured into me. I had, you know, my mom and my grandmother and my grandfather who, you know, paved the way. So, you know, it was just like, we can just build from here. Nice. You know, like, we could just go from there. So we're good.
Dope. So Morehouse.
Yeah.
Right? You chose, hit all these Big East colleges, you're a ball player, like that's what's in your ear. Did you go to school now, college, to play ball, or was it more academic at that point?
It was a little bit more academic.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't have like the best SAT score and stuff, but I got into Morehouse. I did make the team my sophomore year,
nice.
But then I realized what it takes to be a student athlete, and I was like, "Nah, I'm good." So I realized that the passion wasn't there.
Okay.
Like it may have been like out of high school. So Morehouse, how I get to Morehouse, there's like multiple stories here. So my first introduction to Morehouse starts with Boys in the Hood.
Mm-hmm.
So when you watch Boys in the Hood at the end of the movie, Trey goes to Morehouse.
Yeah.
When I watched Boys in the Hood, the character that resonated most with me just was Trey, right? And so I'm like, oh, Morehouse, right? Yeah. And then Ania Long go to Spelman. I'm like, all right. So I'm like, that's my first introduction. I'm like, okay, that's a school I should think about.
It's not a Big E school, but
it's not. But like, okay, this character that I really like resonated with amongst this movie that I resonated with, he went to Morehouse. So I'm like, all right, bet. Then my sophomore year, my best friend Marcus Blackwell, we were on our way to SAT prep class, and Marcus's dad went to Morehouse. So we're sitting in the car, and his dad is like, well, if my son wants to go anywhere else other than Morehouse, he has to figure out how he's gonna pay for it. And that's that legacy thing. It's a thing, like when, especially on a private school side of things, like if you go to a private school, like parents be wanting their kids to go to the same school.
True.
And so I'm like, but then the Morehouse, like, okay. So I remember at that point doing research, and I'm like, oh, Edwin Moses, Martin Luther King, Spike Lee, like this legacy of Black men. And like somewhere in me, I think there was like, I want to be a leader, right? And it seemed like a school, like it's like they're right on the website, we produce Black male leaders, you know? So I'm like, okay, this might be a spot for me. And then I went on Black College Tour. Okay. I went to Hampton, Howard, Morehouse, Spelman, Clark Atlanta, FAMU, Tuskegee. Wow. And when I got to Morehouse, I felt like home. Nice. And you know, home isn't a place, it's a feeling. Yes. Right? Yes. And so that's when I knew that that's where I needed to be. It was Morehouse or bust, you know? Like I did apply to other schools, but I was going Morehouse alone, whatever we gotta do. That's where I need to be. Yeah. I'm gonna be the man that I need to be for myself, for my community, for my family, is by going to Morehouse.
Now what's interesting is that you said that, you know, part of that journey, you're thinking about your family with it. At any point, being the oldest, right, and knowing how hard moms was working, did you have any guilt of, hey, I'm leaving mom, I'm leaving my siblings?
I didn't. I think I felt like I did. My mom, I more so looked at it like my mom prepared me for this, right? By being the oldest and everything that I had to do to help her, it was preparing me to go off on my own more so than it was that I need to stay home and help her. She's preparing me to go off and do great things. I was just telling her that recently on the telephone. I just said, I just think about the idea as a parent. I'm not a parent yet, right? But one idea of a parent is to build capacity of your child, because at some point they are going to leave the house. Yeah. And they have to function in this complex society that we live in. So everything you do, when she said no, there was a reason why.
Yeah.
Whether she communicated it or not,
She knew the reason, what she was trying to
right,
prevent.
Right. All these things so that when I leave, I'm able to function. I'm able to take care of myself.
True.
On my own,
True.
right? I need to be able to do that for myself. And then like I will meet somebody and I need to be a self-sufficient man, right? Yeah. And so she's preparing me to do those things. So I'm forever grateful for like how she parented, because it prepared me to at 17 leave to go to college
in another state
and be fine, right? I'm leaving in August. You're not gonna see me again till December. Yeah. So
at Morehouse, all right, what were some of the key things that you picked up? And I think when people speak about HBCUs, you talk about the connections that are made that are everlasting. So did you make a lot of those connections going there besides just what it instilled in you?
Absolutely. I didn't even, the two things that like what's going to instill in me, I went because I wanted to be a black male leader. This seemed like a school that's going to prepare me to be a black male leader. The process that it takes you through to prepare you to do that, I didn't know that that's what I was going to experience. When I get there, the first day, you do welcome to the house, and they're introducing you to quotes. Every man and woman was put on this earth to do something unique and something distinctive. If he or she does not do it, it will never be done. Right? I want to do something so well that no man living, no man dead, no man yet to be born can do it any better. Right? They hit you like day one. Wow. Boom, quote after quote. Howard Thurman, like they're just hitting you. Wow. And I'm like, okay. And they talk about don't let Mother Morehouse go through you, right? And Morehouse holds the crown above your head, challenges you tall enough to wear it, right? But the key is that you never actually grow tall enough. Yeah, it just keeps getting raised higher and higher, right? And as a black man, that's how we should be talking to black boys, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and I was 17. I'm eating that up, right? Eating it up, all up, and so there I was able to figure out what that looks like, as well as being like Morehouse is that place. Like many HBCUs, because it's all black men, you go to a place where like everybody was the smart black kid or the smart black boy at their school, right? Wow. Give or take. Everybody was like, now like, what does that look like, right? Think about like, okay, you in one place, everybody from Canarsie or wherever, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna take all the kids who have been doing well in school, right? I'm gonna put all of them in one school.
One school. Wow.
Right? And what that looks like, but we're gonna foster a culture of brotherhood so that they push each other and help each other persevere to success. Nice. That's what Morehouse is, nice. Right? That's a special place.
Oh no, it sounds dope. I'm like, damn, why did I go there?
And so from there, like I remember nights like management decision science where it was like 30 dudes in a room studying, and everybody had to go to the board to do the problem in front of everybody in order to lead the room to go do whatever you want to do, but you couldn't leave until you did the problem on the board and could walk through it step by step. Like that's just a powerful community there. So I'm appreciative. And then to the other piece you mentioned in terms of like the networking and stuff, like if I start going down my class alone and what Brothers is doing and all industries, it's like, those is like, and there are people I could call for, like maybe I need a place to stay, or being with the work that I do. Hey, I got a young man that wants to become a sports agent. I got a young man that wants to make film.
You know somebody.
I know somebody.
Wow.
I know a guy.
Yeah.
I know a guy, right? And and it might just a conversation, right? Because like everybody does their thing. Not everybody has to do that thing in terms of give back and mentor. I'm not that person. Like everybody got to do that. No, there's different ways you could do that.
True.
Like Brandon, that's what you do. That's like you live for that. But guess what? I'm an architect. But listen, you got a young man that wants to be an architect, give me a call. I'll have a conversation with him, right? And I think that's the powerful aspect of the brotherhood and the network that comes out of Morehouse.
I want to talk about some of what might be negative connotations about HBCUs. I'm just giving you two, and I want your idea on it. So number one, people feel like, hey, it might be a wild place because it's just us. It might be a lot of partying, number one. Number two, people say, hey, the real world isn't just us. It's not only black. So how do kids that grow up in that way, that might have come from a predominantly black neighborhood, that go to a predominantly black school, how do they then enter in different segments, whether it's corporate America or the film industry, where we're not the lead and the only ones in the room?
To the first one, the party's just there, right? Like that's but that's everywhere though. Yeah. That's college. College is an expensive experience. Mm-hmm. you can argue, should it be needed to move to this, to get these certain jobs after you graduate from college? Like, why can't you obtain that out of high school? That's a fair conversation to have. We can come back and we'll have another conversation on the academic side of and schooling and stuff like that, right? But it's a really expensive experience, right? To pay $200,000, $100,000, even if you go to a state school and you end up paying $60,000 over 4 years, right? To then get a job doing whatever at the same cost of what it costs to go to school. That's great. But that whole 4 years, you party, you did schoolwork and you party. You did schoolwork, right? And join some clubs, do some activism. You know what I mean? Like it's a really expensive experience. However, one thing I do say, like between the ages, the average age of coming out, if you go right from out of high school from 18 to like 22, what's a better place to be than this experience? Like if you just go back and think about that time period, aside from the fact that it costs a lot of money, what else? What would you be doing if you didn't? Like you just went and got a job, you would still be partying. Like at that age.
And working.
And working. You working and partying. Yeah. Or you go to school and party. Like that's what's going to happen
either way.
18 to 22, right? But and to the second point, first, what I enjoyed is going to a HBCU where everybody comes from all over the world, right? So then I realized how we're not monolithic. Because there's like Connecticut definitely has like a New York feel to it in terms of like how we dress, some of the words, it'll be really similar to what made some of the lingo that may be, across New York City just because of the proximity, Connecticut, New York, Jersey, right? Caribbean music is a thing for us,
you
right?
You go to the parties and
it's all of that, right? And then then you meet some people from Philly, you're talking about John. Like, I don't use that word. That is not exactly,
it's not my vernacular.
Right?
And they're right there though. It's right there.
Exactly. People from Cali talking about hella this, hyphy music, chopped and screwed. Yeah. I never knew what chopped and screwed was until I got to college. Yeah. Talking about pop over soda. Pop. What are you talking about? Everybody was there. So like that putting all of us together, it also lets you see that Black colleges are a microcosm of the Black community. So thinking about who we are and your self-awareness and your social emotional skills that you get to develop in this space, that those are the skills that employers are actually looking for. And you get to develop a strong sense of self, how to do social management, all these things. And for Morehouse, I can speak to that specifically. Every company out here is coming to Morehouse because of these things to find talented Black men to bring to their companies.
Because now it's all about diversity and inclusion.
And that, but more so like we're also just talented brothers. Like I have a Morehouse brother that has graduated from every single graduate school that Harvard has, right?
Wow.
Like I can name people like, oh, this person went to the Kennedy School, this person went to Harvard Business School, this person went to Divinity School, this person went to medical school. Like that's normal. To me, that's a normal, like when they talk about normalized things, like, oh, normalized Black people going to Harvard. Oh, that is normal to me. That's an expectation.
I got 20 people in my phone book right now who did that.
Right. And I think that's the beauty of going to a Black college. Like these things are normalized, right? Yes. And then your network, that is who you are with. This is what people do. That's actually that's just what we do.
Wow.
Right. And then as you build your own family, that becomes a thing. Like my best friend, his dad like owned multiple businesses, did a thing. Is like I'm a Morehouse man. That's what I do.
Yeah. Wow. So, I mean, I think it's very clear what your influences were to create the Black Man Can. But I think probably coming out of college, it's probably not the first thing you did. Or was it? Like, what did you do? Did you go into the workforce somewhere right away?
So I have a story. I got a story for everything.
Of course, that's why I'm here. You know you got stories, man.
So I was a business major, marketing major. So that's my brain thinks that way. I'm all about like marketing and content and stuff like that, which has aided me with the Black Man Can, as well as in other aspects of my career because I've gone into education. But I was a business major. I was in Inroads. I worked at Kraft Foods, Liberty Mutual, Aetna. I had company cars. I had American Express card at 18. Yeah. Like my first internship, they got me a company car, swiping for gas and everything like that. That's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, 18.
Because you could go ham with that.
Yeah.
Right? If you're not responsible, So, with that. Doing the internships, I was more than prepared for to be successful.
You just felt like it was built in you. You were ready for whatever came.
Yeah.
So when do you start the Black Man Can? Because obviously you had the day thing going on, right? you shifted your evenings to something else. So at what stage did you say, I picked up all these leadership qualities, I picked up all these different skills, let me put this together? And was the Black Man Can your first attempt at doing something?
Perfect. Okay, cool. Because I was trying to figure out how to bring this all together, even from the first question. So the story around with getting into where I'm at. So I was a business major, did the whole inroads, all that. And my senior year, I had 6 job offers, right? American Express, $60K, $10,000 sign-in bonus.
They got signing bonuses at American Express to work there too?
Yeah.
not just a point bonus for the card.
Yeah, they do, right? They got, I had Humana, I had Kraft Foods, okay. I had all these different companies. But while I was at Morehouse, I started a mentoring program on the east side of Atlanta called RSG Mentoring. It was built out of a class that I took at Morehouse. And I realized in that class, working with the young people, that I had this passion for education and youth development, right? Like just seeing kids get better with their different skills and their self-awareness and whatnot. I was like, man, this is dope, this feeling, right? Yeah. And then one of my internships I did at Kraft Foods, amazing company. And I remember like I'm looking at spreadsheets and trying to figure out why Oscar Mayer bacon is not selling, why Kool-Aid's not selling. Kraft makes Kool-Aid, if you know that.
I didn't know that.
So I'm like, all these things,
they got
right?
With the mac and cheese and the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. I mean, there's over like 300 products at Kraft Foods. If it hasn't changed since then, like that Kraft Foods make. You want to know what's the most the item that makes the most money? It's like called a liquid gold. A1 steak sauce.
Oh wow.
That's the cost to make it.
It's dirt cheap. So yeah,
that's the highest yield. One of the highest yield products that they sell at Kraft Foods.
Wow.
So quick.
It's not even macaroni and cheese.
No, it's not. So with that, but I realized this. So got all these job offers, and then this one opened up called at the Fessenden School, which is a junior boarding school in Newton, Massachusetts. And I applied there, and like I told you how much American Express was offering, like this job at the Fessenden School for $25K, right? Getting paid once a month.
And the cost of living is probably more up there.
$1,500 a month, right? Wow. It was a boarding school, so I did have the opportunity to live on campus, which was helpful. But after I got paid every month, I had like $200 to my name, right? But I was what I always tell people, like a presentation or I'm talking, just like right now, is that you chase the vision and not the money, because the money end up chasing you, right? I don't make $25K anymore, but that I made that choice at 21 that this is the path. And so while I was in school, the idea of the Black Man Can was starting in school. It didn't start till a year after I graduated, but it started with a hashtag. So I used to use Twitter. This was the time of just Twitter and Facebook. And so I would post like a news article and a link on Twitter, and then like use this hashtag, like the Black Man Can, with positive news stories. I used to just do that on Twitter. Nice. And then I'm like, oh man, well, it'd be dope to like I'm pulling these news stories while we have a website, which turned into a blog, but a website where all these stories sit, and then I would interview guys and stuff. That is the how the Black Man Can kind of came to be. Nice. I'm like, I'm doing a blog, so I just went on GoDaddy, bought the domain name. I think the beautiful thing is that God knew where I was going. He knew my order steps. I always believed in walking by faith and not by sight, but He knew my order steps, because when I bought the domain, if I'm doing a blog, I would want theblackmancan.com. Yeah. Wasn't available. What was available was theblackmancan.org. Because He knew, he don't even know what's in store. He don't even know what's coming. Yeah. But we're gonna have that. That's what's available because of where I got you going.
It's a blessing. Right? You didn't even know at the time.
Absolutely not. Right. And so we get the Black Man Can. I'm telling stories, doing all these things. We launched the Black Man Can Institute, which is now the Building a Better Brother Summit, the Journal, the Children's Book. We trademarking names, do the whole thing, and that's what we've been doing since 2010. We've impacted 500,000 or 500 men are part of our mentor network. Over 15,000 students have been impacted through our on-the-ground physical work. We got to 900K followers now on Instagram, so impacting people digitally. And it's just it's dope, right? Nice. It's cool just to really create impact. Everything I do is about impact. If it ends up making me some dollars, that's great.
Yeah.
But I'm about impact, legacy, influence.
Nice.
That's like really what's important to me.
So I mean, but even starting out, like, did you take this job that you took in mass and took those funds from it to build the Black Man Can? Where did the money's come from?
I mean, kind of. I mean, like I said, after everything, I didn't really have much left. I start paying student loans back and stuff like that. So I would say, like, over time, like money from I've always had a 9 to 5.
Okay.
While having a 5 to 9.
Yes.
So I would say yes, that has allowed for the Black Man Can to flourish because I've always had a job. And by choosing to follow my passion in terms of education and youth development, the two things actually always go together. Like when you introduce me as teaching fellow at the Pheasant School, founder of the Black Man Can, that actually goes together. When you introduce me as director of business partnerships development at High School Inc., founder of the Black Man Can, that goes together. He works in a school. When you introduced me as director of social emotional learning at the Urban Assembly and founder of the Black Man Can, those two things go together. So I've been fortunate to truly walk in my purpose where my passion project, side hustle, whatever you would like to give the term to, and my 9 to 5 intersect very nicely, but also allows to show that I'm fully walking in my purpose. Every day I wake up excited to go to bat, to do what I'm going to be doing at work. Or for the Black Man Can. So
now, I think people might want to create their own non-for-profit organizations, etc. What were some of the challenges you had really turning it into a real organization?
I think the first thing is figuring out how you're going to go through the process. So like you can find an attorney to do the pro bono work so you can follow with the federal government. Or I went to the Foundation Group, which is an organization based out of Tennessee. It's based out of Tennessee, and you pay, like, they have multiple levels, and then they coach you through the process.
Nice.
and to getting to the end of filing all the paperwork. They have like a 95% success rate. So I went with that, and that was that, right? It was more so just making the decision, and we became a nonprofit because we didn't become a nonprofit until 2017. Okay. And 2013 is when we launched the Black Man Can Institute, now the Building a Better Brother Summit, and we're going around the country doing conferences for young men. And then people are like, yo, I want to donate to your organization. And I'm like, at this point right now, you can donate, but you can't get a tax write-off, but you can definitely give me money.
I'll take it.
So then I'm like, wow, we getting people saying, oh, then I'm like, I want to give you $1,000.
Wow.
Like, just donate to what you're doing. I think it's important and needed. And so that's actually what forced me to become a nonprofit, because we just had a regular Black Man Can LLC, and it's like, oh, we have to become
tax
Black Man Can Incorporated
and stuff. And
so we did that, and then that's how we got to the nonprofit. And it wasn't even until 2018 or 19 I even trademarked the name. I've been doing the Black Man Can since
you were out there and someone could have taken it, but you had it.
I mean, there's a lot to do.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot. I don't know what somebody else's vision would be for it, but absolutely that could have happened.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying I recommend that. If you see something,
get it locked up early.
Yeah,
lock it up.
Yeah, I would say do that. Like, the Black Man Can is a little unique, in terms of a name, right? But there's other things that are like, oh, somebody would come in and swipe that real quick.
Yeah. So I mean, just with the summit, let's talk about that, because what was the first city you went to, and how did you turn it into a multi-city thing? How many cities have you been to?
We got put on for the home team, so we did it right in Hartford.
Nice.
We had young men from Hartford come down from Springfield, Mass. We did it at the school that I was working at.
Wow.
So using resources that we have, and we did the first one, and I posted the pictures on Facebook. At this time it was just Facebook and Twitter, and I think maybe on my personal Instagram.
Wow.
And then people like, yo, is that coming in my city? And I'm like, I started thinking about like Jay-Z and J. Cole and all those rappers that I like. And I said, yo, they go on tour and sell out arenas. I could do that too, but we're going to go sell out gyms at high schools with empowerment. And we're going to fill up arenas, if you will, school gyms and all that with kids and men coming in and do speaking, motivational speaking and everything like that. And so we started that, and then from there we went to the next city was Baltimore, Maryland. I had some friends in Baltimore doing stuff. They had a school working in, so we went to Baltimore. Then we went to New Haven, Connecticut. Mm-hmm. We did that at Yale in the Afro-American Cultural Center. Wow. And then you had to come to New York City. No, we went to Atlanta, and then we went to New York City, right? It really was just me calling people like, yo, I'm doing this thing. can we come down to the city, you know, and you got a school, you got space,
Yeah,
you
set
got
it up.
kids, let's do it, you know. I'll get the speakers and all the things, and we did it. And so, I mean, we've been all over the country. I mean, I can't even, we've been up and down the East Coast, out to the Midwest. We did one in St. Louis. This was like right after Michael. I'm so
Yeah. You got me.
I'm
I see his face right now too. So the kids definitely needed that
yeah.
conversation.
It was like literally the stuff, the teddy bears and everything was still in the street when we went out there. So we did one in St. Louis County and St. Louis City.
Wow.
We had like 200 boys each day. And we had boys that even knew him, you know, and like it was powerful. Like still got the photos and the footage from that.
So just to paint, I mean, you kind of tell them what the summit is, but what can someone expect when they join that summit, and who is the target demographic? Is it for the young boys?
Yeah,
what's the age group?
middle school, high school.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of things that have come out of it. So first is like, yo, I just want to corral men together. We want to go and do workshops on academic excellence, financial literacy, social emotional skills, real estate, like just whatever I will find, whatever your thing is. Like if whatever your thing is, that's what you do a workshop on. Okay. It's not even about like trying to find real topics. Like, what's your topic? Wow. And I just need to find a collection of men that have topics. Wow. And then the boys are coming, they don't even stop like, nah, you gotta go to every workshop. There ain't nothing, this is information you need. Yeah. So they go to workshops, we get a keynote speaker. We were having one of the events that we would do that I started creating to accompany the summits was 1,000 ties, like brunch, or 1,000 ties happy hour, and you had to come and there were drink specials and past hors d'oeuvres, but you had to bring ties as entry. It wasn't money, you had to bring a tie. So we had this collection of ties because at every summit, boys would get ties. It's one of the like hallmarks of it. Like everybody gets a tie. All the men are gonna help the young men learn how to tie ties. Really focused on grades 6 through 12 for the most part. We gave out the Black Man Can Journal. So we created a journal for all the boys, and that's the summit, right? And we just went around the country doing these conferences in different cities: North Carolina, Atlanta, St. Louis, Wilmington, Delaware, Charlottesville, Virginia.
I'm gonna put you on spot. Top 3 keynote speakers. Who are your top 3 favorites?
Oh, top 3, man. You know, this is public. I don't want nobody to.
They're like, yo, you ain't name me, bro.
You ain't name me, you know. I think my man Malik Champlain. He's been like he's like my guy too. So he's done several. Robert Felder is one of my guys, man. We even call like something that he does when he speaks. We call it the Rob Felder. Like that's how powerful it is. Like dudes have done stuff and it's like they were like stolen. Like I'm using that. I just want to let you know that I saw you do this, and I'm going to do that, right? And Rob is the guy who's done like I feel like lots of people have taken the Rob Felder and have used it. I've watched people do it in other settings and be like, yo, the first time they saw that was they saw Rob do it. So I gotta give it to Rob. And then, I mean, we have, because we have some dope. So I'll give like maybe one of the more famous people that did a keynote was Chris Carter, that played for the Vikings. Yes. So he came and did a keynote when we did it in New York City. Nice. Now it's real powerful, and the kids really enjoyed that. One time we had, he's really popular on Instagram, but also in basketball, lethal shooter, Chris Matthews. Yeah. So he was a keynote one time. Nice. So you know what I'm saying? We done, we done had, that's what I'm saying. Like it's like, it's too many. Yeah, it's a lot of guys who like, we've had politicians, come and I mean, I go down the list, so it's hard to pick a 3. Those are just some guys I could mention. And we have guys who've been keynotes multiple times because so the byproduct of some of this is like what actually happens for men. So we pouring into boys, but what also happens, I'm bringing men. I know all these men for various reasons in different spaces. Now I'm bringing men together, and they see each other doing a workshop. Like, oh, yo, Rob, this is what I do. This is what I do. Yo, we should collab. I've seen brothers do stuff, but they met at the summit, or it'd be like they haven't seen each other since the last one. Oh, I see you did the Queens one. You know what I'm saying? Oh, that's dope. Yo, like I'm gonna come to the Brooklyn one, and then dudes I'm gonna come down to Hartford. We did one Jersey. And people like are doing stuff on their own or building with each other, right? And then there's the brotherhood that comes from that. There's weddings I've been to just from like connecting with guys, and then they've been a part of the network. And then it's like, yo, Frame, you're my guy. I'm getting married, man. You should come out. Da da da. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, I think one of the things that people might see similar type of settings are from fraternities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is fraternity also mixed into it as well for you?
It's not. I mean, I would. You could consider it something like that. I would say, to what you to the point you just made around fraternity. Actually, that's like when I think about this logo, and what it means and where I want us to grow, even as an organization, is that I want this to mean something that, like if you see walking down the street and you see a brother wearing this, you know what that brother's about.
Yeah. Nice.
So I want that for Black men. Like it's not about the process to be a part of an organization. Like, no, this is for us. Like, if you see a brother rocking the Black man can, you know what that brother's about. You could probably speak to him like, yo, tell me a little bit about what you do.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Because like you wouldn't wear that
otherwise.
You're not rocking that otherwise.
True.
So what are you about? What you do, right? That's what I want. I want it to grow to that point, like where it's like a bat signal, if you will, for like Black men brothers doing something, brother about something, nice. Brother focused on empowering and bettering himself, bettering his family, bettering his community, because the Black man can, right? That's what we do. Nice. That's what we are accomplishing. So that's what I want it to represent. So,
I mean, obviously, pandemic had to affect the summit. Are you back right now with the summits?
We're not. We've done some virtual ones over the last 2 years. We actually right before the pandemic, 2 months before the pandemic hit, we did our first international one. So we was making waves. We went to the Bahamas. We have 250 boys from government school and private schools across the Bahamas at the University of Bahamas. It was powerful. News showed up. It was crazy. Some of the same guys I just mentioned. Elbert was at that one. Yeah, Elbert. That's actually kind of like how we kind of connected. Was asking him to be a part of it, and then we built a brotherhood. From there.
I think I'll even bring this up. Like Elbert spoke a lot about like how he's trying to change the way that Black men look and wear and the parents, etc. What's your feeling about that and just the style of wear and?
I think the gentleman just passed, Leon Talley, right? And like Black men have always been at the forefront of fashion. Black people, culture happens. The way people dress is based. People wear fitted hats because of Black people, Black men, if you will, right? So I'm here for the diversity of what that represents. Like I love seeing it. There's nothing like a brother in a suit. Doesn't matter if you don't like wearing a suit. People treat you differently in a really nice suit, nice tailored suit. You get treated differently. Women look at you differently. Men look at you differently. Like, oh, okay, all right.
Hold the door for you.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So it's a thing. I'm here for. I think what I'm here for is so many different people. I believe that we should all do everything that we can in our little corner of the world, but simultaneously connect the islands of success so that we can create collective and sustainable change. By me knowing Ilbert and the work that he does, and then the work that I do, and then another brother, and then your work, right? See, this is we just do this, right? Because Ilbert recommended me.
Yeah, Ilbert told me you'd be a dope guest.
And so this is the islands connecting, right? Yeah. And now man, I would love to go speak to my old middle school. Done. I'm gonna send an email on tomorrow. Yeah. And we're gonna figure out how to make it happen. Look at that. See, that's just from a recommendation to me sitting here. Now you're gonna speak to your middle school.
Yeah. No, dope.
That's connecting islands of success, operating from a place of abundance. Nice. That's what I'm about. So I think Black men dressing well, that looks a lot of different ways, right? I think that's the beauty. What's one beautiful thing about New York City too is that New York City is one of the few places on earth where you can wear whatever you want, and people like, okay. Just think about like Connecticut a little bit. Like there's certain things
you wouldn't fly. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if people would just on a regular day. Would appreciate the fashion at a themed event. I got you. Yeah. But just like you just walking through Harvard like
why?
Yeah. But New York City though. That's it.
It's your sense of style.
That's it. That's
yourself.
Your swag fire. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. I like it. And I think that's the beauty of New York City.
No, dope. So now we spoke about the summits, right? What else is like the other big push from the Black Man Can that people could expect and understand about? Like when I'm supporting this organization, what else am I supporting?
Yeah, so we have the summits. We also do dinners and dinners for men, brunches for men. So bringing us together. I think as I started the Black Man Can when I was I was thinking it was 22, 23. So it has evolved as I have evolved. So we're creating more spaces for Black men to come together and build brotherhood, and celebrate vulnerability, right? Which are spaces, safe spaces that we need. We have our merchandise, which is relatively new. It started in 2020. So we have that, and I kind of shared a little bit of the vision of what I want that to be. We released affirmation cards recently. So affirmation cards for Black men and boys. So 75 affirmation cards, for the everyday Black man. So we have physical affirmation cards. So we have that. We have the My First Tide children's book. Okay, so that's nice. For the K through 5. So like it's creating products, tools, if you will, that help Black men and boys become better, become whole. So that's a huge focus. Continuing to do our events in different cities and building bridges for Black men to connect and be unified in a way that allows for us to move our communities forward. So those are just some of the major things. And we'll just continue to think about how we can create more content, using the social media, because it's like I started it and I really just haven't. This whole thing has been just fun for me. It's really like, oh, I see everything you see that's posted is me. Right?
Oh wow! So it's not like a whole group of people behind the.
when you write like, oh, can you post this, or you talking to me?
Wow,
that's me. It's not.
And you almost got 1 million followers, and it's just you.
It's just me. It's
organic.
It's all organic. There's no paid follow. None of that. It's just I just be like, this is how Black men need to be seen.
Yeah,
and that's what I post.
Wow.
Right. And it's been cool. And so I think just thinking about, because we have an audience, how do we create our own content to, as well as we currently do a lot of amplification, but what does it look like to create the content because we have so many eyes that are watching, and what should that look like as well, on top of, sharing the content that Black men all over the world are making to highlight themselves. I think one of the most recent things that has been really phenomenal is I call them Black man vlogs. But it's just Black men waking up, making their bed, doing daily chores, going to the gym. I mean, it's real, and it's like maybe 30, 45 seconds, and people love it. And what's so fascinating about it is like, it's just Black men being
Black men, just living their life.
And that's fascinating to people. Fascinating.
Because there was no criminal activity. There was nothing else going on in those videos.
It's almost like people are wondering like what we're doing.
Yeah.
Like that we don't do anything. No, I'm serious, because you have to go read the comments. I'm telling you,
serious?
Go just look up the hashtag.
Yo, you could cook?
Go look up the hashtag Black Man Vlog. That's the hashtag that I've made. Black Man Vlogs. And just go see. It's probably like at least 15 videos up there now at this point. Yeah. And just go read the comments, and you'll see people like, I love these videos. Right? Wow. And it's just Black men being.
But I'm curious. I mean, just with the demographic, obviously you cater a lot to Black men and boys. Are Black women also, like, what's your viewership? Where does it come from?
Oh, I mean, 60% of the following is women. Black. I don't know if they're Black women, but they're women, and that's how the analytics break it down. Because I mean, that's historical, right? If there's one person, I'm assuming that's Black women. Majority of the 60%. If there's one group that has stood in the gap for Black men, it's Black women, right? So. Who's in the trenches for us and believes in us, it is Black women, right? And so to have a page where you just to see the amazingness of who we are, Black women want to see that, right? Because they do want to see that, they do believe in us, right? Despite, like, you can follow certain pages and you see the gossip and you see some crazy stories that people be posting. That's not what it is at scale. At least that's what I believe. I don't think it's like it can seem that way. But it's not, right? Most people, like the videos, Black men are waking up, doing what they do, go to work, go home, take care of their family. Like, that's what people are doing. And that's why the videos, I think, are so fascinating, because like you're actually seeing that.
Wow.
That's what makes the page fascinating. Like, look, this is who we are. This is what we do. Yeah. So.
Now, without naming them, right? How do you feel about a lot of the sites that are out there that might promote us in a negative manner?
I mean, there's a space for everybody. There's content for everybody. I'm not here. I'm. People need to decide what they want to consume, right? It's just like you could sit, if you want to, you could watch Fox News. That's up to you.
Yeah.
Like it's there,
Up to you.
right? There you can watch something else, right? So if you can follow the Black Man Can, but you can also follow places that promote us, show us in a negative light. And sometimes that stuff is funny, right? Some of it's like, bruh, like you just read the headline, you're like,
"This is real."
Yeah, And so there's a space for that, and you decide what content you want to consume, but you have to think about that because like here's a story that I'll share. I was 20. I'm 34 now. I think I was like 25, 26, right? So it just goes back to about consuming content. And so this is, early stage Instagram roughly, right? Because that's like 8-9 years ago now, right? So early stage Instagram. And so I definitely was the guy at 25, 26. I'm following the Instagram models, all of them. All of them.
You said all of them.
I'm here for this. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I used to get King magazine when I would try to get when I saw it, I buy it.
And everything.
So that was it. It was into it, right? Yeah. And then I remember one morning I woke up and I like many people, the first thing you do is look at your phone, and the first thing I seen was ass. And I was like, that's not what I need to see the first thing I wake up in the morning. So it's a decision you make. And then from there, I purged all that, right?
You unfollowed all of them.
Unfollow, it's twerksome, all that. Like I unfollow, what I'm saying? All of them, you know what I mean? Now if something like that popped up, it's because it's shared on somebody's story. So they say, I don't, because that's not what I need to see. Like
it's not.
It's even messing up how I even view women by watching and seeing. It's like this is what I think women should look like, whatever. And I'm like, nah, like because it just like it was no different than watching music videos growing up, and you're like, right? But even just like I always think about like the Between You and Me video, Ja Rule, right? They shooting that in Brazil, like sign me up. I want to be a rapper for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's like, nah, that's how that really messes with your mental, right? And it gives you a view of what the world is, what's possible, right? And so I think all about consuming content that is nourishing me, that is fulfilling me, that is helping me walk in my purpose, right? And so you have to make that decision. And I remember like shifting, right? And being like, I'm telling you, woke up and the first thing in the morning, because most of us, the first thing we do, maybe use the bathroom. A lot of people, the first thing you do is look at your phone. And just think about it. It's 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Ass.
Twerking.
Yeah. Like that's not how I should be starting my day.
True. So, I mean, I think a lot of women might even be curious. Do you ever think about or plan to create something for Black women?
I mean, so one of the things, I know you asked this and I probably should have said it. We may do some sort of page or something. Right now, that's not really it, but we have created a product that is available on the Black Man Can. So we created a tote bag that says the Black Woman Can on it. So it's a leather bag with stitched the words "the Black Woman Can" on it, and cream, cognac cream, and black. So that's what we got right now. Nice. And we'll see where it goes from there. Maybe we'll do some merchandise too with it.
Okay.
So yeah, I think there's a space to do that, but I think that space also has a lot. There's if you follow Black women on the internet, then they all follow these Black women empowerment pages. There's abundance.
So it's abundance, but
it's
that wasn't there for men. Pretty much.
But I always ask people like, what would be your comparison to the Black Man Can? Like if I pulled up this woman, a woman empowerment page, and be like, oh yeah, that's similar to this one. The aesthetic is different. Some quotes and affirmations are different, but it's it's a thing. Yeah. And it's like, well, what would that look like for where? Or I would ask women, where would you send your nephew, your son, your brother, your uncle, whoever, for what you get in need? Where would you send them? And it's usually crickets.
Wow.
Because like, where would you, right? Like, and you should just, if you get a chance, just ask women that. Like, where would you send? What's the program? Yeah. Right. Because it's not as prevalent. Does it exist? Yes. And I could tell you about a bunch, but is it maybe at the scale of what you see for women? I don't know. That's something to discuss. But statistically, I would say no, right? If you just look at statistics, and just from public schools, the group that does the worst in schools is Black males, right? So we just think about that statistically and then think about what we see as adults.
I mean, what do they say about third grade reading level?
I mean, yeah, so when you're in third grade, that's if you can't read by third grade, then you're statistically more susceptible to commit a crime because you can't read, which means you can't get no job. And we know that based off statistically speaking, right? Now you get me. I'm in doctoral programs, so like, good. But what happens when men have no employment? Violence.
They still need money.
Violence. Yeah. Violence ensues. Period. Yeah. When men have no jobs, violence ensues. Period. Right? And so that's why employment, like when we see the issues that we're seeing, it's not, this is how they are. Men have no jobs. This is the one way that they see they can get some form of employment illegally. That leads to various things. And then we know what it is, but that's a systemic issue in terms of lack of employment for Black men, and then what does that do to communities?
Wow. I mean, it brings up a big thing, right? And I think you almost go political with it. But I mean, how do you feel? And I guess I'm going to ask you this because you're leading Black men right now through so many different things. A lot of Black men feel lost right now with the political system and racial injustice, et cetera. Are there any political partners that you have where you feel like they're the next leader, they're the next group? Because I think there's a place where we're lost.
I mean, I love one of my Morehouse bros. He is running for the mayor of Houston, Chris Hollins. Somebody I just want to shout out. And there's a Morehouse man who's the mayor of Birmingham, Alabama. Like I could go just on the Morehouse tip, but I think there's a lot of men out there. We just need more. But that starts with having you come back to speak to the middle school, right? And the work that we need to do for our young men to prepare them for the opportunities that are out there, right? The jobs are out there, but there's a skill set deficit, and it's going to take us really investing in Black men for skill building so that they can access the opportunities. Anybody can relate, but definitely Black men can relate to having skills, but not enough skills. Go on an interview and you do well, but then they ask you certain questions and you can't give the answer that they're looking for. You can give an answer, but it's not the answer that they're looking for because you didn't get an opportunity to develop the skills in a prior experience. And so how do we create more opportunities for Black men to develop those skills so that they can acquire the jobs that they want that will pay them the ways that they need and feel good about so that they can take care of themselves first and then also take care of their families.
100%. Now, kind of going all the way back to the marketing aspect, right? You went to school for it, and obviously you've made the page successful. I even want to talk about merchandise and what it means, right? What does it mean for you when you're putting out your own merchandise and going through your own creative process?
I try to, I keep it simple, but also try to pay attention to trends and what people look for and what's in. It's kind of simple. I'm thinking about right now, everything we have just has the logo on it, right? Okay. So we're looking at what are some thinking about, because we have the period as like a symbol there, right? So what does it mean to create some slogans that we could sell, but use the period, maybe same font, similar font that come out of us in terms of playing on beards. I got some beard slogans that we might be able to play with, and some other ones, some love stuff. I just kind of, I think right now I'm working mostly on our systems, right? And it's just Marcus Lemonis I like his show, The Prophet. He's it's the 3 Ps, people, product, process, right? And I think we have great people that are on the Black Man Can team. I think we have great products. And so as we really streamline our process, then it can fly. So I'm really focused on process maybe more than the marketing aspect, because I feel like we have that down. Even just having a solid brand, just if we get streamline our process right, with 900,000 followers, it's feasible to be everybody will buy one hoodie. Yeah. You can do the math from that. If we sell a hoodie for $45 and 450,000 people buy one hoodie, that's all right. That's in a good place. That's good. That's what's up. That's all right.
And the important part is that it feeds the organization.
But that's the thing. So we're trying to figure out how to tell that story more. We're giving out scholarships. See, I be forgetting all the things that we do because we do a lot of things. the scholarships, the summits, that's all because like even the virtual ones have been funded because people buy merchandise.
Wow.
All that money goes to like, it's not there's nothing like, that's the beauty of also having a full-time job for me. Like the Black Man Can't I don't have to use any of the money that comes in to sustain my life. It is
It's a passion project.
It's all like, this is all, everything we get to do in the community, give out scholarships, host summits, do dinners, is because you bought a hoodie.
Yeah.
Right. And so think about how we could tell that story even more, like why you should support us or why you should shop with us or donate, is because it literally is you investing back into the community, or you investing in a Black man. When you buy a hoodie, you've invested into a Black man.
Now, I mean, are there ever points in yourself where you're just like, I should be taking more from this for myself? Just
Not really. It's not it's legacy, impact, and influence, matter more, right? To me than money. It's just not you could probably say I probably left a lot of money on the table because of that, and that's okay. I'm fine with that, right?
Because we see people in the news getting in trouble for that, right?
That too. So it doesn't faze me. I'm like, I want to change the world. And through the Black Man Can, that allows me to do that. Through the work working at the Urban Assembly allows me to do that. My whole thing is, how can I change the world? What can I do to make that impact, right? That legacy that matters way more than dollars to me.
Like all the Morehouse men before you.
Yes.
So, I mean, just let's talk about the Urban Assembly, because I think you mentioned before you had the 9 to 5, you had the 5 to 9. How are you managing doing that? And I mean, like you said, there are synergies, right? But how are you managing having the day job and the night job?
It's a balancing act to just. I don't know if there's a balance. I think that I try to give 100% to everything. I'm also a full-time student, so
you said that you threw that in there, doctorate program.
So like that's kind of my life. If I'm not doing the Black Man Can, I'm doing Urban Assembly. If I'm not doing Urban Assembly, I'm doing schoolwork. And at Urban Assembly, I have a team of 20 people.
Wow.
So like
that you're directing them.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I'm
so 20
I lead.
people there.
I lead people, right? Like people look to me to provide the support and the guidance for their professional development, so they could do their job, right? But I value that. Again, going back to what matters to me, like leading people, not being a manager or a boss, no, being a leader, right? Leadership is something that is void, across many communities. So it matters to me to lead people, and that people trust me, want to come, be a part of the team to move the work forward. So that's just what I value, and that's what's important.
Now, I mean, work-life balance. I mean, it sounds like you don't have much room for anything else. So, I mean, what do you even do in your spare time? Like,
I try to watch some TV here or there. I got a few TV shows that I like. Okay. I'm into live sports, so I definitely try to get to a few games.
Nice.
Who's your team? Football is Dallas Cowboys, okay. America's team.
You said you got season tickets.
I do have season tickets to Dallas Cowboys.
You fly out to all the Dallas?
Not all of them. It's me, my dad, my cousin, and my brother. So there's every other year there's 9 home games.
Okay.
And then it's 8, 9, 8, 9, 8, 9 because of the new schedule. And so we just split them up like 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 2. You know what I mean? That's And so and then I also like to go. Commitment. Yeah, I also like to go to road games too. Okay. Because I like to see the stadium. So I've been to like half the stadiums in the NFL. Nice. So that's a thing for me to like see the different stadiums, and the architecture is really cool to me and stuff. Tailgating.
I'm starting something with my son. He's only 4 now, but every year I'm a big Lakers fan.
Okay.
So every year I'm gonna take him to a different arena.
Yeah, see the Lakers.
Yeah, see the Lakers play.
That's dope. Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna add to your vision with your son as you do the Lakers. I'm gonna add to that as he gets older. Then you'll be like, we gotta do one of the big ones every year. So it's either Super Bowl. I know it's Lakers, but I'm just saying. We gotta do Super Bowl one year, just me and you.
Yeah.
We gotta do NBA Finals, or NBA All-Star Game.
True.
One of the big. True. As you once you hit all 32, because you can hit more than one in 1 year, that's right? True. So it gets to a point where like, okay, what's the next evolution of that?
Like that.
Let's do one of the big sporting events that like go to the Final Four, right? Let's do that. Like I think that would be cool.
It's memorable stuff.
It is. That's what matters, right? That's what you remember. Right, if you think about, if I asked you, who's that teacher that you remember, right? You know what I'm saying? those memories. Like I had students, and I'm like, make sure you go to prom.
Yeah.
You know, like these things, because like they
can't change that later on.
When you go to your 10-year reunion, you're gonna wish you was in those pictures.
Of course.
You know, so
now, I mean, I've heard mentions of a potential magazine for the Black Man Can. What's kind of like next?
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about, there's so many different things I think about. I think maybe a digital magazine more than a physical one. I'm open to, I have a vision board of like all these different ideas, different products that can come out of the Black Man Can. And we'll see what happens. I'm not like, oh, it's got to be this or be that, but definitely have different ways we could impact the community through products, through events. We had the Black Man Can Awards. That's one of our big events. Haven't done that since the pandemic, so I want to try to bring that back.
That's coming back too.
Yeah, so we, just putting all those different things in place, and that's what I mean about like processes and getting systems so that the product and the people can do what they do.
Now we spoke about sports. Musically, what are you into? Like, who you listen to?
I'm a little all over the place. I definitely like. I just think about the playlist that I have on my Spotify that I've made. I got my faith, spiritual tunes. Definitely listen to that just about every day. Like I kind of start the day with praise and worship.
Nice.
Then definitely got my my island. I call it. It's called From the Islands to Africa. So Afro beats and like reggae, dancehall.
Nice little blend.
Yeah, nice little goes back and forth. I'm a big, I like Jay-Z. I like Drake. Nas. I mean, I'm just kind of like, sometimes it's a mood thing. I'll pull up Pop Smoke sometimes, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of, sometimes it's a mood. Or I have one playlist, it's called Humble Brag, and it's like all the songs where you just kind of like, like I'm the GOAT. You know what I'm saying?
Hype music, hype you up.
You know what I mean? Like, we about to get it in today. Like, you know what I'm saying? We about to make change. For me, like, we about to make change today. Like, so.
I mean, you work with all the New York City public schools, right? Most recently, the New York City new mayor basically came on and said, hey, with music, I'm going to put a ban on drill music. He did, however, sit down with the community. What do you feel about even that move that he made and the fact that a lot of the kids who are listening are in these schools that you're going to every day?
Yeah, I think that you have to meet people where they're at, right? And so I think that hip hop has always been a reflection of what is going on in the community. So you need to sit down with people and what they're talking about. That's what's happening. It's not like people are making up stories.
Yeah.
This is what is happening in the community. This is what, like, I think about. How old are you?
I'm 38.
So okay, I'm 34. So I feel like when we was growing up, rappers talked a lot about selling drugs.
Right, selling drugs. Now they're doing them.
Now they talk about doing drugs. But that's what the kids is doing.
Yeah.
Like that's a real thing, right? And so how do we remedy that? Like, let's talk about why you do those things. So I think that it's very important to meet community. One thing we talk about, like a lot of the urban assembly, and I've been using this when I do things. Growing up, we experience what is like we're preparing students for college and career, right? That was a thing. Everybody's heard that. That's what you do in school. And so I like to push that in terms of where we are now and say, how are we preparing students for college, career, and community? When you add that community in, that's different because 77% of people live within 15 miles of where they grew up, right? So just think about that. Like New York City is just a slightly different because people that from Canarsie that still live in Canarsie and maybe and if you go 15 miles, that's Long Island. So 15 miles where they grew up, right?
True.
All right. So how are we preparing people to live amongst each other, right? The same kids that are going to high school together, they're about to live amongst each other potentially for the rest of their lives. What skills are we providing them? How are we having conversations so that people can live in community with each other? Because that's what we're going to have to do across race, ethnicity, gender, socioeconomic status, everything, right? We have to live amongst each other. And so what does the hallmark of democracy is compromise? So what does the common ground look like? If you have a viewpoint, I have a viewpoint, she has a viewpoint, how we come together and be like, okay, what is the common ground where nobody feels oppressed, but we've reached a point that we can move forward as a community so that we can thrive.
True. Now, Summit, right? You mentioned mentorship. I'm kind of curious how long does, even like a child that's come to one of the summits, how long do they kind of stay with the Black Man Can if they go into a mentorship?
That's such a great question. I would say there's not really that type of program. That's not what we're doing, which is something that we're looking to shift, not necessarily to do that, but how can we use, because of the funds that's coming in through merchandise, create grants for organizations that are more focused on literally day-to-day mentoring and moving young people along. So we don't really like follow students, but we've had students who have come to multiple, or like this one year, this was like 2014, and we had like 8 tour dates, because that's how I going on. I want to go on tour, so we would do tour dates, and we had one family that came to multiple tour dates.
Oh, wow.
Right? I wanted to come, like they followed the thing, in terms of all the Northeast states that we went to. I was like, that's dope, right? So we've had some stories like that, or like these 2 twins that go to Morehouse, and like because we came to the summit and we heard you, like that's where we wanted to go, and they go to Morehouse now, right? Wow. So and I got all these stories. Like one time in Wilmington, Delaware, we did the summit, and I came back, and then I was walking down MLK Boulevard, and you know what that looks like in everybody's community, you know where it's located.
Yeah.
In everybody's community.
MLK is the same place,
right?
Everywhere.
And so I ran into a young man. He's like, "Yo, you Mr. Black Man Can." I'm like, "Yeah, cool." It was a little awkward, but yeah, cool. And he was
he
like,
knew your face.
He did. And he was like, because it was before COVID, no mask. And he was like, at the summit, you gave us ties, and you told us that, we taught us how to tie a tie, and we had to pay it forward. And I was like, yeah, I did say that. And he's like, I paid it forward. And I said, so who'd you teach how to tie? He said, I taught my dad.
Wow.
Right? So those are just stories that I get to share as, when I woke up that day, that's not a story I thought I was going to hear. But that's the work that we're doing. So
I mean, I guess it kind of answers this question to a degree, but without having like that ongoing mentorship piece where that one child you kind of see grow, do you ever feel like you don't have a metric to measure the success of the program?
Yeah, I mean, that's something in terms of, because we haven't gone after grants and stuff. Okay. If we want to move in that space, then yes, we would need to figure out how we would quantify our impact so that we could secure funds. Outside of that, it's the stories I get to tell. It's the anecdote. It's the feeling. Yes. I can show you a video and you'd be like, that moves me, right? So that's what we have, because we're not really interested in even going after those grants that may exist. Open to it, but sometimes they come with a lot of oversight, and sometimes they're not actually focused on what a community really needs, because it's people that don't look like us that put these grants out, right? Organizations that, sometimes it's not always in our best interest sometimes with some of the grants. Specifically focused on like Black males, because it's people who don't look like it's dictating what you need to do and how the funding should be used or what it should go towards.
Now, do you ever work with any organizations that exist out there? Like, and I'm thinking out, off the top of my head, like 100 Black Men, et cetera. Like, how do you kind of contrast?
Yeah, we've worked with different organizations, large ones, like different. I probably talked with some of the local chapters of 100 Black Men, and also fraternities and sororities in different communities. We're all about partnership. Again, that's connecting islands of success. That's a trend that people, as they watch it, see, connecting islands of success. So that is in partnership with other organizations so that we can build out our impact.
Nice. So, I mean, what's next for you? And is the Black Man Can the only, is that your project? Are you planning to start anything else, any new companies, et cetera?
No, I think, the Black Man Can is going to continue to grow. It has a lot of potential to create even more impact across the world. And so just thinking strategically about what that could look like, that we can, scale our impact, right? So what we're doing now and just bringing that to another level, as well as thinking about, again, creating content that we could do. I have a whole docu-series that I want to do, some different ways to take that, just
expand the same message.
Really. Yeah, this is even wearing our merch, you're a walking affirmation, right? When people see it, it's like
the Black Man Can,
right?
There's nothing we can't do.
Exactly. So so I think that is something for work. This time last year, my team was a team of 3, and now it's a team of 20, right? Wow. So I understand what it means to scale products and software and stuff like that, because I've done it, and so that has allowed me to grow in my leadership. So I think about what more I could do there. Like leading a team of 20 people puts me in a position to move into a space of leading organizations, right? Because I've managed that many people and done it successfully, and continue to hone on my leadership skills. So who knows what that tells the store. And like for me, like my unique story is that I've never applied for a job.
There you
I've
go.
only been recruited for jobs. So there, as I build my skills, who knows what organization out there is like, that's the guy we need. You know, for right now, I'm good. I love what I do. I love the team that I have, the people that I work with, and the impact that we're making. And then when something else comes along that piques my interest or speaks to my passion, then we'll explore that. But for right now, we good. So we'll just see what happens over time, right? And then I'm at school. So not this time next year, this time or about 15 months from now, we could do this again, and the title could be Dr. Frame.
There
do
you
this
go.
again, And
Dr.
so,
Black Man Can, if someone sees you in the street.
Exactly, right? So that's cool, right?
Black man can be doctors.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where we're going. That's what we're doing, and just living life,
I mean, you got my support, right? And yo, I'm going to Canarsie with you. We on back.
I'm
I'm dead serious too.
I got you. I'm gonna send an email when I leave.
How we gonna do it?
Like PS211, who are the leads there? Let's get a visit.
Yup. Yo, I'm there. But no, it's been great talking to you. It's been great getting the insights, hearing it directly from you. For the people out there, where can they find you besides the Black Man Can?
Yeah, at Brandon Frame, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, it's all the same. At Brandon Frame, at the Black Man Can. I want to partner with everybody. I want to work with everybody. I probably have a problem saying no. That's something I got to work on. But I think like I said, I operate from a place of abundance. Nice. When we work together, what we accomplish is amazing. It's outstanding. It's phenomenal, and that's my ethos. So
I mean, I always say, each one teach one, and we all move forward.
Absolutely, I rock with it.
It's Blue Dope. Peace.